Felicitations, adventurers. Welcome to Over the Table. I'm Taylor Felicity, and I've scoured the internet, but mostly Reddit, for stories about TTRPGs for us to provide our unsolicited opinions, advice, and commentary. And today I'm here with Layla and Mila, and our topic today is all stories about chaos gremlins. So these are all going to be stories about very chaotic things happening at the table, sometimes from DMs, sometimes from players. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to throw it over to my guests to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Layla. Do you want to tell people who you are, what your TTRPG experience is, all of that kind of stuff?
Okay, yeah, Taylor went over this with me. So I'm Layla.
Giving a peek into the pre-production.
Yeah. I'm Layla. I go by ze, they pronouns. One of those, well, I go by zers or self pronouns and they, them pronouns. And the zers or self pronouns are just like she, her, herself pronouns, but a little zestier. Really fucked that one up. So let's see if we can be a straight shot from this point out. I've mostly played D&D, but I've also played a lot of other games because I've just played a lot of TTRPGs. That's the thing about me, bragging. And I have made a lot of friends from it, and that's really the best part, including Taylor, who's beautiful and wonderful and fantastic, and Mila, who makes me smile and laugh every time I hang out with them. Shit. No, just kidding. That's an inside joke.
Also referencing something that happened off stream.
Yeah, it's an inside joke you guys don't get to know about it. I've DM'd. I'm actually a professional DM, and one of my big philosophies, really in all creative collaboration that I do, both as a director, I come from a theater background, and as a DM, is like creative collaboration and giving people everything they need to be like the best versions of themselves and come to the work or play with, everything they have and everything they want. Hi.
Yeah.
That's it. That's me.
That's it.
Hello.
Mila, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but first I would be remiss not to say that my mom is in chat right now, so hi mom, and also just subbed, so thank you so much for the resub, mom. I appreciate it. 33 months.
I miss Taylor's mom.
Hi, Taylor's mom.
But yeah, Mila, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your TTRPG experience. Also, you've been on Over the Table before, so
I have.
You're an expert.
I am. I'm ready for this. I'm I'm just thinking about your mom's TikTok right now.
My mom's TikTok.
I'm slightly distracted. Yeah. I was just like, oh, I haven't seen any of Taylor's mom's content.
Just the existence of it. I was like, did she do one
it.
that was like
no,
scandalous or something?
Do a sexy TikTok that you're really thinking about? That's the vibes it was.
No. I'm actually just really into houses. When you show the construction, ooh.
Yeah,
That's real. When they get out the jackhammer.
I am Mila. I'm a normal person who can think about normal things. I have been on Taylor's streams before. I have played different games. I have been on Over the Table. Last time I was with the wonderful Jason, which was very fun. I was very wishy-washy with my opinions, but it's just because he says something and I'm like, yes, Jason, great point. I'm very excited to be here with Layla.
I think that might happen again.
yeah. Oh, I forgot, because I was on the stream, I forgot I could.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got scooped. You're not first. Melanie is canonically first in chat.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm really excited for this. I have played a number of tabletop games. Not so many, but I feel like enough. I played more than D&D, which I'm very content with. I'm currently in my personal life playing a lot of solo games, so that has been very fun. And I'm very excited to judge people because I think I'm qualified. I'm very qualified for that. I normally do it internally, and I'm very excited to do it externally.
Perfect.
Also, I should say, because I didn't say this, is that these two people are some of the funniest people that I've ever played TTRPGs with. It's literally insane. Mila played a worm, and the Ghost King who was like gaslighting himself into not like being dead. Some of the funniest bits. It made me so happy.
My favorite was that I had to essentially, as like the player, be like, I need to stop. Because I don't think, as the character, I could be convinced. I had to be like, I need to let them get to me. Melanie was also in that game.
Melanie was also in that game. Yeah, so if you are watching the stream and you haven't seen our actual play of Wanderhome, and you're like, I need to get some more Layla and Mila and Taylor, and also 2 other people who are not on this stream.
Melanie and Zay are also some of the most fantastic. Truly,
Yes.
that Wanderhome game, I was like, where am I right now?
Yeah,
it's a good.
Everyone was so skilled and talented, and I was like, I just do bits. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
It was great. Layla's underselling their level of talent. It was a great series.
Actually, I'm strictly selling it. I'm a very confident person. Like, I know what I'm good at. I'm just here for bits and to be pretty. Like, that's it.
That's what we're all here for. That I will say that Wanderhome game was very chaotic, so we have some experts here because this episode is about Chaos Gremlins. We've got some posts from Reddit, all seeking advice related, sorry, this is still my notes from the last game, but they're not seeking advice. This is all posts from Reddit that are related to TTRPGs. Some stuff that you can do if you're watching is you can... I have it set up so that if enough different people within the same span of time type boo in chat, I think it's like 5 times within like 8 minutes or something, you can automatically trigger like a boo. So if somebody in like one of the stories is like doing something really bad, you can be like boo, boo. And then similarly, if you want to cheer something, if you type, I think it's like yay, clap, cheer, in chat, it'll trigger a like applause sound effect. If you don't want to wait for other people to get on board, you can use channel points, which are the free currency that you get from Twitch just for watching streams. And you can use those for a bunch of different things, but one of them is to trigger boos and cheers. Also, if you want to do a red flag alert, which I will show what it looks like right now, a little thing if something happens in a game that you're like, this is a red flag to me, you can do a red flag alert. If you are a subscriber to my channel, so if you pay to not have ads and to have emotes, you can type, sometimes this doesn't work for me for some reason. It did that time. You can just type exclamation point red flag, and you don't have to use any channel points to do that because you're paying me real world money. That is, I think, everything.
Everyone should pay Taylor real world money.
If you want to, you can. And you'll get to type red flag in chat, and a little thing will come up. I did this earlier, but I'm going to do it again.
Hellscape. And you don't have money because we live in a capitalist hellscape. You can also
then
tell
go get money
watch Taylor
and give it to Taylor.
Rob people. If you're not already following both of my wonderful guests, links in chat to other places you can find both of them because they are both great. I think that's everything I'm supposed to do at the start of the stream. You licked cinnamon?
Fun fact, we're actually having Mila do the cinnamon challenge on stream.
I was already an adult when that was popular, and I was like, look at these stupid children.
Wait, why did you lick cinnamon?
Oh, it was on, I got a pumpkin, it's a white mocha with pumpkin syrup, and they put cinnamon on the whipped cream, and I licked the whipped cream, not realizing on the other side there's a ton of
bunch of cinnamon.
And it was just a lot of cinnamon all at once.
Mila,
So when I make that
old are
face.
you?
I'm 30.
Okay, that makes me feel better because I sometimes am like, wow, I've been mostly single my entire life, and Mila has 2 partners. What am I doing wrong? And so the fact that you're like about 3 years older than me, I'm like, okay, I've got time. I've got 3 years.
You have
I mean,
3 years.
I did get married at 25, but
wow.
Okay,
so do feel bad.
So
Go back to feeling bad.
I just got really lucky. That's it. It is not a personal thing. It is okay, this is not what we're here for, but
This is what I'm
and
expecting.
then you kind of made it very real for me.
Yeah, I know. So my friend passed away, and I went to their funeral, and so I only met Oleg because I was passing through the city he lived in, and he came up on my Tinder. That's the only reason.
Oh,
it was
okay.
not luck, but it was just happenstance, I would say.
I thought you were going to say you met him at the funeral. I was like, this.
Your friend sent him to you. That's so beautiful and
maybe
like heartwarming.
Anyway, before I cry.
I also want to say that Mila's captions aren't working. So when they're talking, their captions aren't going to show up, but we know about it. So
we should say that this is great for this to be a Gremlin stream because I think we have like 2.5 autistics.
Yeah. That's a good TV show.
Yeah.
I have to write that now. That is really funny. 2.5 autistic.
I
thought it was just called Big Bang Theory.
Oh, you're right, actually. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna wrangle a little bit, and just start reading the first story. So our first story for this stream is from r/DM Academy. And the title is, Player New to D&D Wants to be the Joker. How do I guide his character away from being a murder hobo?
Taylor plays the Joker too in our Baldur's Gate 3 game, but our friend who does not play the Joker 2 in our Baldur's Gate 3 game is the murder hobo.
This is why I picked this, because I was like, oh, I also play the Joker. I made my character in Baldur's Gate 3 look like the Joker, but a gnome.
And its name is Baldur's Gate, sorry, no.
I named my character Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I named my character the sequel to the Joker. The text of this story is, so, I'm a new DM, and I have one player that is new to D&D. He's described his character as inspired by the Joker, chaotic, and kills anyone who gets in their path, not past. So none of the potentially interesting qualities, just murder and insanity. I don't want to tell any players no, but this sets off so many red flags of edgy, murder hobo, chaotic, stupid, and yes, they picked rogue. Any tips on how to help this player set up a chaotic character without being a literal insane murderer? We haven't actually had session 0 yet, so the player hasn't made a character, just his preliminary ideas. And he's brand new to D&D, so he has no clue why this kind of character isn't very fun to play with. I already told my players no evil and no lone wolves.
Okay, so I guess my first step would be asking this player why they want to play D&D.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who are of the opinion that D&D 5e is like mostly a murder game, like mostly a game about violence. And there are people who play it who feel that way, and there are people who hate it that feel that way. I personally don't 100% feel that way. I think there are tools for violence, but there are also tools for non-violence. So I think asking this player why they want to play D&D, and if their answer is, I want to do a bunch of battles, I would say point them to Warhammer. From what I know about Warhammer.
And revenge. Take all their money.
By make them poor.
To Warhammer,
yeah, because it's expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you, Layla. I also think you can say no. Just say no.
Yeah.
I'm being a little facetious, but like I think it is okay to say no. I think there's two things that you can say in a co-op game that leans heavily on improv and is the classic yes and, but it's also no but. I also don't think this person really knows the Joker that well, which is just bothering me as someone who likes comic books. I just think this person doesn't really get the Joker. Because he doesn't just kill everything in his path. Like, he does have, like, it's a logic. It's not a logical logic, but it's his logic. He is, like, I will say, like, I don't think he's an unlawful character. Like, he just has, like, if we're looking at it as, like, lawful as, like, your own, like, code, like, he has things that he's doing. I don't think he's just, like, it seems chaotic to other people, but he, for the most part, knows what's up. And so I don't love that it's like, I want to take this character that is actually like, as this person said, like interesting, and then take all of it and then just like absolutely kill anything and everything. But it's also on this DM of like, this DM like literally says like they haven't played before, like what do they want out of it, like what is interesting about it, what do they want to do, but also you say no, literally say, this is why I think it's a bad idea, this is often how it works, can we come up with a different character, can we get you some experience first and then we can work to building this other character, like you can always trade out a character, you can retire a character and switch it out. I would just like, it would be nice to see it if it was like, no, but like these are the reasons why, like it's not actually a free-for-all, there are rules, and it's also a freaking co-op game, like you have to work with other people, and that character is not going to work well with other people. Kind of famously so, actually.
Yeah. I think the only way a character like that works is if you're specifically doing like a Suicide Squad, or you're doing something where all the characters are kind of like that, but that doesn't seem to. I mean, the DM said no evil.
Yeah.
And in Suicide Squad, there is an outside force that is forcing them to work together.
Yes.
And sometimes as a DM, you don't want to have to do that work.
Yeah.
Of like forcing the player to have a reason. And I would also say, if you're this is me kind of coming at it from director brain, right? If you're having trouble figuring out how to say no, one of the ways that I say no as a director is, that's a really good idea. That's a good idea, but it doesn't work for this story.
Yeah.
So let's come up with like another really good idea, or find a way to change these things about this so that it does work with the story.
Yeah.
And if you have trouble even saying that, and you don't want to say no to the character at all, here's what I would say is set a specific rule with that player and say, you're not allowed to initiate combat. If combat happens, you can kill anyone you want. But your character specifically is not allowed to initiate combat.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not fun. Like, one of the things I actually really like about D&D is I like the combat. I like being able to fight. I like the more, like, it's not like the crunchiest game, but it's like more crunchy than like, I play like a lot of Monster of the Week. I play a lot of rules like games. And so it's crunchy compared to what I often play. And I do actually like the crunch. I do enjoy it. There are things I like about it. I'm happy to play a lot of different games, so I get a lot of different things, and no one game needs to fulfill everything. Isn't it crazy that I'm polyamorous? Anyway.
Polygamorous.
Polygamorous, yes. My husband's polybanderous. I'm polygamorous. See how it goes. He's in a lot of different bands, is the joke.
Yeah.
There, in case
I'm poly
viewers did not
TV
get
showerous.
Yeah.
If you're a monogamous, like a monoga show, that would be really.
It would be Parks and Recreation.
You know what? Fair, but I would also be like very confused by that. I think that, God, I super fucking distracted myself, because it is like crunchier, and because there are rules. Like, I would still be, even though I really enjoy that combat, if everything was combat, if they just like came across a peasant and killed that peasant, that would suck. That would suck so much. I would have a terrible time. And I assume, based on the fact that the person said no evil, that the other players are into this. And so for one person to just be like, I fuck all of what you want, I'm just gonna do my own thing, it's like, well, this sucks. Actually, this isn't fair. And again, it just comes down to, a lot of people don't realize how like cooperative it is. And I think you just need to sit down with this person and explain that it's very much a co-op game. So like, for this game, that might not work because everyone else is playing these types of character, and we are a group that need to work together. Do you think you can put that, like, we can make like that character sheet and we can bring it out maybe later, but like for now, do you think you can come up with like a better character that actually like what Layla said, actually fits in the production that we are currently having?
I would say, if I was this DM, the first thing I would do is find out what they like about the type of character and see if I could incorporate something like involved with that like they want to have like high intimidation, or they want to seem like they can always fly off the handle even if they're like not actually going to do that. That would be my first thing. If they I remember. The other thing I would say is, I would say, like, make your character like pre-Joker And then you can have the opportunity, if something bad enough happens to your character in the game, then you can become the Joker, which I think is more fun. Like,
100%.
you can have a character that has this kind of instability and they're keeping it together. But you could go like kind of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker route where you're like a comedian or whatever, and then like you get mad.
Honestly, like I feel like a bard would also make sense as part of that. Like the Joker's a very big performance
That's
character.
true.
That would make sense as like to multi-class with.
Yeah.
I also just think another thing to think about is like why this person wants to play a murder hobo so badly.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really similar reason as to why some people, if we're being very generous and not making assumptions about and assuming this person is a good person, you know, one of the reasons why someone like that might lean towards murder hobo is I want to kill everyone is such a straightforward goal and objective. And some people I think get like they want to make a strong choice, right? And it's like, what's stronger than wanting to kill everybody? And I think and it makes roleplay really easy for that person because it's like, I'm just mean and I want to murder everybody. And that's really easy to roleplay, actually. It's really easy to roleplay anger or like aggressiveness, right? And so I think maybe talk to them about like, hey, are you having any issues with like how you feel like roleplay will work? And like, hey, maybe we shouldn't come up with a personality for your character right away. Let's like maybe have kind of a concept, but then go into the game and see what feels right to you. I think that's better for first-time players anyways.
Yeah.
See, I'm not assuming they're a good person, so I think that's where we're differing.
Oh, I'm not either. I'm just inviting everyone to be better than me.
I really like the generous read. I do. But I'm also like in my head, I'm so firm of being like, this is a man. This is a cis man who has like watched like
he watched the one Joker movie.
Or just just watched the Christopher Nolan ones and completely does not get what the Joker is on about, because like, and I've just run into so many of these guys. I've run into so many of them, so I'm just like, no, I don't want to give you the benefit.
I'm assuming this guy is Jared Leto. I'm just assuming that this is about Jared Leto.
Honestly, but I'm also just like frustrated now because now that I'm thinking about the Christopher Nolan Joker ones, that Joker is so intent on like showing that other people, like everyone is capable of evil, and I'm like, that's actually interesting. And if that person is inspired by this, it's even more worse because you're force fed this through the movie.
I should rewatch it.
Anyway, I'm just upsetting myself. That's it.
maybe we should move on to the next question. Or not question. The next submission.
But I do saying no is okay. You're allowed to say
yes, you're allowed to say no. Vox Abnormus and Ted said, confront the murder hobo, kill their character, show them the consequences of their action, become the murder hobo murder. Oh, is this Ethan? Ethan changed your username. So I didn't know that was you. But I was like, this doesn't say first time chatter and it says subscriber, so this must be someone I know.
I'm pretty sure, so yes.
Okay,
I
hello, Ethan.
only know this because
he was asking about that. Yeah, the Latin. Okay, I should have realized. I was like, I know this must be someone I know. All right, so this next the post, whatever story is from r/RPG horror stories, which is one of my favorite subreddits because it's great. And this one is titled GM starts adventure with 10 nested side quests. We started the adventure being told by the Adventurers Guild to visit someone's uncle and help them out. The uncle asked us to fetch some mahogany boards from the lumberjack in the next village. The lumberjack asked us to go to get his axe sharpened. Then When we actually got to the dungeon, we were saving a meteorologist's daughter so he could give us a weather report to give to a druid in exchange for a spell scroll to give to the leader of the dwarf mafia.
No.
So he would release an apothecary's friend, so the apothecary would make a potion to cure a blacksmith's cold, so he would make us some metal cages to give to a farmer to transport chickens to a starving village, so the village head could act as a character witness to the trial of a friend of another blacksmith, so he would sharpen the axe for the lumberjack to use to cut the mahogany boards for the uncle. I'm not entirely sure if it was supposed to be a parody, but it did not come across that way.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm in the same boat as Mila was last one, where this is my least favorite thing on the entire fucking planet. There is a quest like this in Fire Emblem Three Houses that every time I have to fucking do it, I'm like, I want to murder these people for making me do this. And it makes sense in the Fire Emblem Three Houses when you're running it the first time around, because you're meeting all of the characters and unlocking all the different parts of the map. I still hate it. It's still one of my least favorite things to have to do, but like it makes sense in that context. So I think this person, what they're doing is they're taking like a video game type quest that is usually done for like those reasons, but have completely missed that it is that quest was created for specific mechanical reasons, and have put it in D&D where it does not belong.
Layla, you are so much more of a genius than you know, because this is specifically, I was gonna wait, but you've already hit on the thing. This is specifically a quest from RuneScape. All of it, like beat for beat, this is a RuneScape quest. So either the DM is doing it as a troll, stealing it from RuneScape, or the person writing this post.
Sorry, Taylor, you were cutting off.
Oh, dang, sorry.
I
Either
heard beat for beat RuneScape.
Oh, well, yeah. That's pretty much what I said. Oh, my internet is okay. Hang on. My worst
fears. I was a genius, and then you were explaining why I was a genius, and I didn't get to hear it, and that made me really upset.
Hang on. Okay. My internet is doing something bad. Okay, I think it's back. Sorry, my internet started to drop out, which is what I was worried might happen. So people in stream also probably didn't know what was happening. You were a genius. This is beat for beat a RuneScape quest. So all of the stuff that happens in this is in RuneScape. So either the person either the DM was stealing it from RuneScape as like a troll, or the person who wrote this Reddit post is lying that it happened in D&D and is just making up a story that uses this RuneScape quest. So yes, it is literally a video game quest.
That's so funny. I'm on the opposite side of Layla, actually.
I think my ears
explaining
is
this your own opinion.
As you were explaining this to me, I was like, this actually sounds really fun. I actually like the idea of getting to meet everyone. I like the idea of like coming in and like helping all of these different townspeople with it, like with different like issues and getting to know them. I think I would like it more in D&D than I actually would in a video game, because I could actually like have like in-depth conversations with people and actually get to like know them. And I like that it would be more of a payoff in that, like, throughout, like, anything else I do in this town, I've created goodwill in that I've, like, gone through and, like, even though it was, like, to get what I wanted done, I could go through and actually, like, meet with these people, which sounds really fun for me. I think that would, like, I was kind of excited being like, oh, I like this, like, up and down a ladder, essentially, quest in D&D. I don't really love them necessarily in video games all the time. Like, I don't hate them, but I don't like necessarily love them, but I think it would be really fun in D&D. There is a magpie that is on my neighbor's roof that just sticks out, and it's just in between, so I get to watch the birds.
Talking about something that had to do with this. I love that.
No, I was just I'm looking off into the distance to look at the beautiful magpie. So
I thought you were gonna say there is a magpie game, and I was gonna be like, oh,
that makes sense, because Magpie's a game designer. Yeah, no. Yeah. But I think I would have fun with this, but I also don't know if it's something that I would be like, I'm going to implement this in my game, because I could see people. I recognize that I feel like I might be more in the minority in this case, and I don't know that I would necessarily do it, but I think I'd prefer that to the quest board of pulling down things and going and doing that one quest and then coming back and then doing another quest. Like, I kind of like, if we are going to be in the town, I do like the idea of things being interconnected. I don't know if this very linear up a ladder, down a ladder is like the right way to do it, but I like the premise of it. The premise of it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Mila, you did beat me to the punch a little bit. Is that I was gonna say there is a way to make this work.
Yeah.
If all of these people they're interacting with are a part of a larger story, if all of these people are like sharing things and have information that maybe don't seem relevant now but do end up being relevant later, like that would be a great way to do this. And it's kind of like a way to like red herring your players in a sense of like, yeah, you're meeting all of these people for like this quest, blah blah blah, but actually oh no, one of them is evil or something, or they're the person that you needed to get the key from in the final boss. I think
I think this also would work really well for like a goofy one shot. Like, I think you could say like, oh, this is a really simple game. It's just like you're just doing this one thing for this person, and then it turns into like you do this and this and this. I think that's actually kind of fun, or even like a two shot. If you could even say like I'm about to list a game on Start Playing that I have in the description. Like, if you have a joke character that you want to play, you can play it for this game because it's like a funny like one shot. So that's like if you're in that scenario where you're like,
I could play my snail anthropologist druid.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who interviews snails to learn about their culture.
I was gonna say, like, I think it would actually be neat if you had it had a quest that involved like all the different members of the community, and at the end, by being like, you've done so much for us and like we appreciate how much you've helped like all of us, here is like a sword that the community has had for a long time, and it's like a very useful item. Like, if at the end, by helping everyone and by not being like a shit person, you get like actual like reward, not being a joker, you get an actual like concrete reward from doing this. I feel like that would also make it like, as like Ethan like said, where you know, the bigger and sword thing from the Ocarina of Time, but with no cool payoff. You could give someone a cool payoff. Like, you can give them like some, maybe you have a druid and druid armor can be, you know, a little bit difficult. Maybe they have like a really impressive like bark armor that's like magically infused or something that their druid can use. Maybe they need a sword to defeat like the BBG or one of their minions or something, and maybe that's like a thing that you can work with. So I think you could give like a good payoff, but just having that to get the like, and it only being for like the result of having like a character witness or something, is tedious as all heck. Like, you would need to reward them with something more than just what they actually like need to put your characters through that.
In the RuneScape quest, I believe it ends with they just give you like 5 gold or something, and they're like, what? All I wanted with this was this mahogany. It was just a simple favor.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Don't do that to your players, because you, like, I can't go punch a developer. You're sitting right in front of me.
Also, especially don't do this to your players if you're all new to playing with each other and you haven't earned their trust yet.
Yeah.
Because the first few sessions, like, everything is trust is everything when it comes to being in a position of service, like DMing is. And if they don't trust you, you're going to start having scheduling issues.
Yeah, I think you have to, like, if I did this with my home game of D&D, I think it would work because we've been playing for like 6 years. Like, I wouldn't do it now because we're like almost at the end of the campaign. But like, if in the middle I was like, oh yeah, here's like a 2-session thing that's like you're running around and doing all this stuff. But either be upfront that this is kind of a joke thing that's happening, or don't do it with new players. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do our next one, which this is a little bit of a longer story. But so we'll probably do this one and then do our break. This is from r/RPG Horror Stories, and the title, actually, I think I'm not gonna read the title because the title basically says the whole thing that happens. So I'll just read the story. This person, the player, who I will call R, has been quite a problem player in my game. I've posted about him before on r/D&D. I'm a new DM, and this was my first time actually DMing, and I put a lot of effort into setting it up. I kind of edited this a little bit because there was a lot of extraneous details. So basically, they say there are 5 players total. The pertinent members of the party are R, who is an Oathbreaker paladin with an edgy backstory. There's also a bard, and then there's an artificer who is R's best friend. All the players except for the bard were new to D&D. The bard had DM'd before. The problem started as soon as we started the session. I was running one of the modules from Candlekeep Mysteries on Roll20. R couldn't be on voice chat for some reason, and his best friend as well, although he was able to before. As I was explaining to the party and introducing them to the setting and role-playing the NPCs, he kept commenting how bad I was at role-playing, and kept spamming skip dialogue in the voice chat and moving his token wherever. He also kept drawing dicks on the map and made a little sillies corner. Yeah, red flag. I was more than a red flag. This is like just horrible behavior. Yeah. Everyone's redeeming red flags.
As Brian K. Murphy said, great news. You never have to DM for them again.
Yeah, we've got some booing as well. Yeah. He also kept drawing dicks on the map and made a sillies corner for him and the artificer, which I don't know. It's not elaborated. I don't know what that means.
I think the artificer is his best friend. That they were.
Yes, the artificer is the best friend. I don't know what a sillies corner is. I don't know what that.
I think it's the dicks corner.
I don't know. It says drawing dicks on the map, so I don't know. Maybe the dicks are in the sillies corner. Afterwards, a bit further into the campaign, he still made the same comments and also kept moving his token around in some restricted areas as well. Eventually, during the game, he just leaves out of nowhere. No text, no nothing. Yeah. Afterwards, the artificer left as well. It's not like he lost internet connection because he was still online. Luckily, this didn't deter me and my party. We just continued as normal. Afterwards, my players told me they enjoyed the session, and the bard complimented my DMing style, especially for a new DM, which was really nice. The bard also commented that the type of player R was very problematic, and said that it would be an immediate kick from them at their table. And then the OP goes on to say that they haven't talked to R about it yet because they're still cooling off, but they plan to be like, hey, you need to shape up or you're not going to be in the game anymore.
That's not, you don't have to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Don't ever speak to him again.
Yeah.
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 Like, literally block him on everything.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't even think, like, at most, if you're like, well, I really need to, like, say something to him, at most, you can say, I'm kicking you out because of this reason.
Yeah.
You don't need, you don't need to go and have a conversation. Like, you don't need to do this. Like, he can just have immediate consequences to his shit ass actions.
Yeah, like, I just think this is one of those situations. I know that there are a lot of like conflict resolution. I'm so positive, toxic positivity people who'd be like, you should always have a conversation and discussion with someone to explain to them like why you're doing what you're doing. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. Because if they can't figure out why you would never want to speak to them again after they did that, they can talk to a mental health professional about it. They don't have to talk to you.
I don't disagree. Like, that is so incredibly rude. The idea of like not realizing how rude that is
that's not your problem. You can't fix
wild.
them.
Yeah.
No. And it's an issue for everyone else. You should kick them out of your game, and then their character should like get drunk and faceplant in horse manure, and die. And die. Yeah. I realized that I probably shouldn't go into like a whole bunch of details because like I haven't given a content warning. Like, yeah, like, just a really not
Content
good,
warning, his character
embarrassing
should kill
bad
himself.
No, he shouldn't kill himself. He should just die, you know? Or maybe a god smites him for the level of disrespect he has shown in previous lives. Like I'm generally very conflict adverse. You wouldn't be able to tell by the fact that I'm stating like these things very like confidently, but I am for the most part.
Yeah, but you're not like right in front of us, you know.
And we're not doing this to you.
Yeah, but I do think this would be the thing where I would be like, I know, and like I don't know that like sometimes I do think people are a little quick to ghost and not actually like get conflict resolution done, but also like sometimes okay. That's how it went. This person sucked.
If someone behaves like this egregiously, they should not need an explanation. Like Layla said, they don't need an explanation.
Bad. Like this was abusive behavior.
Yeah, 100%.
This was fully abusive behavior.
100%.
Spamming skip dialogue.
Like they were being mean on purpose. Like,
and then to say that you suck at role playing.
Yeah, Ethan. I just have Ethan in chat said, "Yucky soul, just rotten, filthy spirit."
Ethan is so also accurate. A very, for context, very understanding and very kind person who tends to view the best in people. This is very harsh coming from this individual.
I would just, if I was a CM, message R and just say, "You're banned, filthy spirit." That's
yucky soul.
Yucky soul. You are rotten. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
To free intern therapy and never speak to them again.
Yeah, I like that. That's harsh.
Listen, when you piss me off,
no, truly.
I'm such a nice person, but if you make me really mad, I will destroy you.
People who are shitty to people I love receive all of the things that I have been storing deep down.
It's like in Spirited Away when they pull all the junk out of the river spirit.
You know what? That thing that my mom said to me that I'm still mad about from when I was 5 years old, I'm going to take it out on you, person who hurt my friend.
So I'm pretty like ride or die from like my mom. Like we have a good relationship. And I love her very much.
Oh, I was talking about my mom.
No, I'm aware. Sorry, this is not in response to you. You have your own relationship, and I have nothing to do with that one. But she is very sweet. She's not very confrontational either. Like whatever. And so we got evacuated from the city I was living in a few years ago because it was on fire. And it coincided with the time that we were going to go to Florida to Disney World. And so we were there not knowing if like our house was still standing kind of situation. And this was also literally 2 to 3 weeks after I got back from my friend's funeral.
Going through a lot.
There was a lot going on at that time, and I was like doing my best emotionally, right? And then
in a new relationship.
Well, we were kind of like distant, like
you were
talking.
texting.
We had gone like one date, but we were really just like texting at that point. But my mom, so she was sitting on a bench. We were waiting to get on the bus to go back to the airport to come back to Canada, and we're sitting there. And my mom touches the suitcase beside her, thinking it was hers, but some random woman had just put her suitcase there, and my mom's was actually just on the other side. So she touched it, went and then turned away. And this woman was like, "How like?" Don't touch bags that don't belong to you. And it was just being a bitch. My brother and my dad came out of the building to see me cussing this woman out for being rude to my mom. Like, they came out, I'm like throwing the swear words at her. I'm like pointing, and I'm like, you need to watch your bag, and you need to not put it right beside other people, and then expect them not to touch it. And I'm like, they're just like, what? happened.
Oh, yeah.
And what
get on
happened
the
is that
bus.
this woman was slightly rude to your mother.
That was all
And
that
that-
was needed for me.
And then that woman was like, sorry, I don't know if my house is on fire right now.
Remind me to never be rude to, even slightly rude to someone Mila cares about. Just remind me to never do that because I would cry. I would
No,
cry.
so the woman was supposed to get on the bus with us, and she didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'd be like, I'm actually leaving forever.
I'm actually going to go lay down in front of the bus.
Will say I went too far. I did go too far, but there was so much, and I was just like,
Yeah.
You know, honestly though, maybe you didn't. Maybe she really needed just one person to go
Yeah.
off at her to learn that lesson.
My dad also like turned to me and he was like, "You do realize we are in Florida and people are allowed to carry guns here, right?"
Yeah,
and I was
that's
like,
true.
"No, I didn't even think about
Honestly,
that."
Mila, what we talked about, if someone had shot you, that wouldn't have stopped you. You would have just taken it and gone like, "Oh yeah, give me more."
You throw the bullet back at them.
I eat bullets for breakfast. Yum.
Anyway, so this person deserves to be kicked out, tossed
Yeah.
out, all
So
of these things. This guy sucks.
yeah, the other thing is, so at the beginning of this post, this DM said, I've written about this guy before on r/D&D, which is a different subreddit. So I was like, oh, let's look and see what this other post was. So I do have that post as well. So this is new player in my upcoming D&D one-shot and possibly short-term campaign wants PvP despite me saying no many times. What do I do? So this is the same DM and the same player, but this is before. This is like the prequel to him saying skip dialogue.
People have
So
to consent to PvP.
yeah.
That's
So
insane.
So they, in this post they wrote, I'm a relatively new DM, semi-experienced D&D player. My friend R keeps asking me to allow PvP in our upcoming one-shot. This came from his first ever experience playing D&D a few weeks ago at a birthday party. The DM wanting to introduce him said that in D&D you can do anything, including PvP. While he never engaged in PvP during that one shot, he keeps making comments about how he will divine smite everyone in the party and my beloved NPC bard Melody Faye, even though I keep telling him and stating in my rules that I do not allow for PvP unless it makes sense in the story. Both players agree. Where I scrolled and I lost it.
So classic. Good for
Yeah. I keep saying in my rules, I do not allow for PvP unless it makes sense in the story, both players agree, and it's non-lethal. Today he asked me again to allow PvP, and I said no, to his disappointment. I honestly don't really know what to do, as I feel like he got a wrong impression on the game. Your party is a party. If your character goes around and keeps murdering all of them, why would they let you stay? I even offered him to look at other TTRPGs that focus more on PvP, if that's more of his thing. Every time I try to explain it to him, he keeps telling me that I'm ruining the fun of D&D, even if I know that if I allow him to do it, it will ruin the fun for me and the other players. He seems really eager and interested to play, but I just really can't take it much longer. I want to resolve this before we start sessions 0 and 1. Any advice? Should I talk to him privately in a more serious manner, or should I just kick him out?
My advice is to send him a link to a therapist who specializes in narcissistic personalities. That is my advice. It's not even a roast. It is genuine advice. Like, it is the best thing possible for him.
Okay, I like this. I do like that. In addition to that, we should also have it where all of the other players team up. If he's going to do PvP, everyone else is on one side. He's on one side. They murder him. And then when he says, well, can I roll a new character? Can you revive me? Say no, and then move on with your life. And never talk
You
to
say
me.
no, and you say, actually, when you die in the game, you die in real life. And then you all
And everyone,
yeah.
everyone
all of the
circles
party.
around.
Yeah. God, I hate this person.
they have an update to this post because people gave advice about stuff. So they said, I just want to thank everyone for the advice, especially the more creative ones. I'm still new to DMing, so all this advice has been very helpful to me. As for the NPC Bard character, the reason I included her is because R has stated that he wants to divine smite NPCs that are meaningful to other PC characters. He wanted to kill a PC's wife if they ever come across them. I just don't want him murdering everything and killing all NPCs, especially if they can be useful to the party, mean something to the NPCs, and help establish a better world. I talked to him about it shortly after this post was made. He then explained that he wanted PvP because it was funny, and that if any serious things were to happen, he wouldn't do it. However, he wanted this PvP still to have damage and potentially kill other PCs because that's what makes it funny to him. I ended up being firm on my yeah, it's funny to kill. I ended up being firm on my stance with nothing lethal or actually causing harm to other PCs and not asking me again. He never ended up replying, so I hope he got the hint. They go on to say that if he doesn't follow the rule, he can't play, and then there's a final edit that says that he agreed to no PvP. So this all happened before the game, and then in the game, how he acts is skip dialogue, you're terrible at role playing. Like, just a horrible person.
Once again, this man, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I've only done a lot of research on narcissistic personality disorder for personal reasons. Not for me, but someone I knew. I feel like I was like, I need to clarify that. Yeah, this guy probably has a narcissistic personality disorder, and there's nothing you can do about that. And so you kind of just have to take care of yourself. And
this guy is the Joker.
Never speak to him again and be happy.
All of these stories are actually about this one DM and this one guy.
Imagine.
That's the plot twist of this over the table.
Yeah. There is one last thing I want to say, which is not even really related to TTRPGs, but I was looking at this person's post history to see if they like talked anything else about this guy, and they didn't. But while looking at their profile, they had a post on r/whatisThatmovie, which is like figuring out like, oh, I remember the scene from a movie, but I can't remember what movie it is. They were trying to remember the name of a movie they watched in 80 parts on TikTok.
Yeah.
and then described the plot of Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Like,
that's real. That's so real.
So funny.
That's so real.
They were like, it's about this guy who's like in love with this woman, but she leaves, but then he's like, he goes to war, and I was like, this is Forrest Gump. They were like, I want to watch it again. I watched
Tom
it.
Hanks?
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is such a well-known movie. It's really funny to like
seem like
not
it's from, like,
mention the actor. Yeah, it seemed like it unduly won a lot of Oscars and stuff, even though it's kind of not that good of a movie.
Does the main character seem a little autistic?
Does it seem like a movie that Mila's parents would take them to watch as their first movie in a drive-in movie theater? More Lord
The
Gump?
first movie you ever watched was Forrest Gump?
Mm-hmm. My parents took me to the drive-in movie theater because they wanted to go to the movie, but like my mom had a baby, so they could stay in the car and like she could feed me if I needed to.
Oh, you were a baby.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So it was the first movie that I was like present for.
Yeah.
Unless you count when my mom went and my dad went to see True Lies while in active labor with me. I was 12 days late. And they were like, we are so bored. We'll just leave if anything happens.
I will
and
say,
nothing happened. I had to be evicted.
We're learning so much about you, Mila.
I know, you're welcome.
Mila, I really feel like this is just like a talk show where we're interviewing you, and I really appreciate that.
Sorry.
Don't
I
apologize.
accidentally started this, and now I'm treating it like a bit.
I feel like I've unlocked so much Mila lore, and I didn't even have to do anything. We just had to put you in front of a camera and say entertain people, and now I'm hearing all about your life.
Yeah. Mila. Ethan said Mila looking at Tom Hanks' dada?
Yeah.
You think Forrest Gump is your dad?
Yeah. No, my dad's a different. I do think I got the autism from my father's side though, so that's also Mila lore. Mila lore. I need a jingle.
I think
just throw this person in a pit.
Yeah. Throw them in a pit.
They don't have to be poisonous. I think it would be traumatic either way.
Feed them to the lions. That's what I say.
5-minute break?
Huh? Yeah, I was about to go to break. Yeah, that's what I was about to do. So we are gonna go for a quick 5-minute break. And when we come back, I'll just give a little teaser of some of the stories to come. One about a Vampire the Masquerade game where someone wants to kill a very famous religious figure in the game. We have another one where someone is accused of being chaotic and they're trying to figure out if they actually are chaotic. We have a story about frogs. We have another PvP related story. And then we have a story about players lying to cover up their characters' misdeeds. So I don't know if we'll get to all this, to be honest, but that's what I have on the slate. So we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
100 floors of orgy. Though.
I already did that one, so I wasn't gonna do it again. Sorry.
Orgy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch Taylor's other over the table.
I think the first ever over the table stream. The first story was.
It's very
good.
good in that it's so fucking horrible.
It's really wild. Okay, so we're gonna go on break, and we'll see you all in 5-ish minutes. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. We are back for the second half of this episode of Over the Table, which is all about chaotic characters. And I have to say, hello, Sierra. It's so good to see you in chat. You've missed basically one of the worst people in the world in one of these stories. That we sentenced to death, I guess, essentially. And speaking of death, I'm going to jump right into our next story because it is a wild one. So content warning for this one, it does discuss Christianity specifically. So if that's something that you're not into, then tab away for a little bit while we talk about this one. So this is from r/VTM, which is the Vampire the Masquerade subreddit. And the title is, "My player wants to kill Jesus and end Christianity. What do I do?" I'm planning a vampire campaign in Rome. I have a player who is playing vampire for the first time. He came from D&D, always chaotic and neutral or evil characters. He created a Ravnos and is simply obsessed with the idea of being able to kill Jesus and make sure Christianity never exists in the world. I told him that Jesus has
bad news for him.
yeah, famously that did happen to Jesus. So...
Famously, killing Jesus is how Christianity became real.
Yeah, so...
Really bad news for him.
I see where he's coming from, but that did actually happen to Jesus, and it didn't...
It actually started Christianity.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with killing Jesus. God literally did. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is just so funny.
The next thing is, I think, really funny too. So the storyteller says, I told him that Jesus has true faith 10 and that he would die if he got close to Jesus, which is so funny to be like, you can't do this because in Vampire the Masquerade, there's like a true faith thing that like religion like fends off vampires or whatever. So it's such a funny response to me. Jesus has true faith 10, he would die if he got close to Jesus. Then the handsome man just said he would kill Maria. I argued that he wouldn't know that Jesus is special. So the other thing that's confusing about this is he just said it was set in Rome, but I guess he means ancient Rome, which Rome still also exists.
I would know Jesus is special because Jesus very specifically was an immaculate conception. So you would know that he is special.
Well, Layla, it's funny you say that. He says, he argued that they sent the wise men to bless the birth of a boy, so he would notice that something was wrong. Something's wrong. Well, after a while, he...
newspapers in ancient Rome.
Yeah.
Like, also, this isn't in ancient Rome. Sorry,
it's not in Rome, yeah.
It's not in Rome. It is in a, like, Roman, like, area that Rome had. It's part of the empire, but it's not in Rome.
But it's a completely different part of the world.
Very far. They didn't have newspapers. If you were actually in, like, the city of Rome, if you were in a major Roman location, you would not have heard about that. And that was actually something the Jewish people did not want. Like, the people at that time didn't want the Romans to know about it, because that was like literally they could get killed. And guess
that
what
also
happened?
famously happened. Like, in the story of Jesus, a king found out about this and killed a bunch of babies that were born around that time. So.
That's another point. So I don't know, like, it's so funny because all of these things have been done and are
I
so
think it's funny because there's
logically
a person who's against Christianity in this story, and there's a person who's for Christianity in this story, and neither of them are showing any knowledge of the theology of Christianity at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's two people on different sides of something they don't know a lot about screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And it's very funny.
Okay, so the person who wants to kill Jesus says he would notice that something was wrong because of the three wise men. Well, after a while, he said that if he couldn't kill Jesus, he just had to kill everyone who believed in Christianity while it wasn't such a big religion yet. Christianity would not spread and would not exist. Help!
They literally tried to do that.
Yeah, this also tried to happen. Help I need. Would God allow Mary's death and form a good plan and roll the dice well? Should I allow him to end Christianity, or is it time to talk no master? Which this last sentence, I kind of just don't even understand what this person is asking, because I don't know what talk no master means. I just realized reading this story, because I was like, why does this person want to do this? The only thing that I can think that makes this make any sense is that vampires are weak to, like, crosses and, like, holy symbols. So maybe this person is like, if I kill Jesus and Christianity never happens, then vampires aren't weak to that.
So what? The Star of David gets put everywhere. Like, I don't know. Like, just because you stop one thing from existing doesn't mean that everything else is gonna, like, that is such a Christian way of thinking, which, like, irks me. The history that is just not being considered at all. Like, I'm gonna be honest. The sheer, like, hubris of being like, I'm gonna know who baby Jesus is.
Yes, I would know something's wrong.
I'm gonna be so real. I think this is a fun idea for a campaign of vampire. I think try to find and kill Jesus, fun idea. I do think everyone has to be on board with it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that there's a lot of stuff that would have to be considered.
Yeah.
However, it does seem like it's not the idea for the campaign. It does seem like it is just one character who
really wants this.
Really wants to murder baby Jesus, which is funny because normally in the metaphorical scenario of killing babies, we're talking about Hitler. So there's something very funny about the reflection of that in this situation. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So if we, just to what Ethan Vox Abnormus suggested, were vampires be weak to menorahs? Is it just Catholic symbols? If we turn to the canonical texts of one Cassandra Clare, Simon is affected by the Stars of David and cannot say God. So it does appear as though it is just like religions.
I think it is, just religions. I think it's most often crucifixes.
I think that if we're only talking about, like, if we're talking about they can't say God, then it's specifically monolithic Judeo-Christian religions and not like all religions.
That is just one example. I've also never seen someone play with, like, a Hindu, like, vampire where, like, you know, say,
that'd
like,
be
Krishna.
fucking cool, though.
That would be really interesting. I'd be interested in
an
actual, like, I would love to see someone who is actually, like, of the culture and the religion writing about it and their take on it. I'm sure it exists and I just haven't come across it, but I think that would be really neat. But Jesus had, like, I don't know.
He had True Faith 10. You can't even get close to him. You'll die.
No, that's the thing. So I guess you could find out who Jesus is by seeing who you die in front of. Like,
what baby kills you?
Every single Mary and seeing the, like, glow from her stomach just destroy you, I guess.
Wait, was Renesmee the second coming of Jesus?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I don't want to learn any more about Jesus today, quite frankly. And I've spent a really long time living in Tennessee, trying to learn as little as possible. That wasn't always true, but it has been true for a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm just kind of like, I'd just be like, Jesus is not in this campaign.
Yeah. Someone already did what you're wanting to do. I did look for
somebody actually already wrote this story, so we're gonna tell a different story.
Yeah.
There's actually a number of books that you can read.
I can't get over, and I will never get over them being like, I want to kill Jesus to stop Christianity, when famously killing Jesus is what created Christianity.
It's so funny.
That will never not be funny to me. I'm gonna think about that before I go to bed tonight. It's gonna be the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's so funny.
I also, like, as an atheist-leaning agnostic person who did grow up like around a lot of Christianity, so that does obviously impact the way that I think. Whenever I like see what Jesus was actually like saying and doing, I'm like, man made some good points. Like a lot of it's sassy, a lot of it's like flipping tables, like a lot of it is like
a lot
giving
of it is
really
sassy.
Yeah, a lot of it's giving really subtle, like subtle by today's standards, but like it's basically saying fuck you in these historical contexts of being like, because like the turning the other cheek is basically saying like, go on, hit me again, but like break these rules around it. And I think that's really fun. So like Jesus, like as a person, with the stories around him specifically are interesting, but it's also wild because like so much of it is the people following that is like having the big stuff. So I also just feel like you're picking on like the wrong person here.
I just love so much that go ahead.
No, sorry. It's just like, never mind. The thought left me. Continue.
I was just gonna say, I love that this person step by step did recreate, the alleged beginnings of Christianity, which is kill Jesus, then try to kill all his followers, which famously didn't work.
And happened.
It happened.
At all of these points.
In
maybe
Vampire the Masquerade.
Being, like,
I also like the
maybe
idea
he
that
just
if
came
you
back
killed
as a vampire.
Jesus, God couldn't just like make another woman pregnant. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. In Vampire the Masquerade specifically, true faith symbols can be from any religion. So that is in Vampire the Masquerade. It can be any religious symbol from any religion.
Now I remember.
So maybe also this vampire is later going to want to kill Hitler because of the swastika being everywhere.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, vampires would not do well in Nazi Germany.
That's true.
I finally remember what I was going to say, which is that this is a little off topic, but I remember there was this one time I heard about this guy trying to create like a collection of like mythology, and he was including all of these religions that weren't practiced anymore. So like Greek mythology, Norse mythology, a bunch of those, and then Hinduism. And it was like, hey my guy, you need to understand one of these things is not the same.
Yeah, one of these is a still practiced religion.
A lot of people. Famously, a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think I've got another short story it's really barely even a story that's pretty funny, so I'll do that one next. This one is from r/DM Academy. The title is, I gave a bag that turned anything into a frog to my most chaotic player, and I regret it. I don't really have an issue with it, but some of my other players do get angry when he makes a frog out of an important magic item. What can I do to limit what he can frogify without being unfair? So what do we think about this magic item?
This is where X cards come in really handy in games. Because you don't just have to use X cards for lines and veils. Truly, if anything happens that you're like, I'm really not okay with this, you can X card it. You can just be really annoyed by it. Like it doesn't fucking matter. You can X card it. So this is a great opportunity to be like, hey guys, we use the X card at our table. So if he tries to turn a magical item you really wanted to use into a frog, you X card it and it didn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
There. Easy.
All of the frogs.
Actually, a lot of these issues would be fixed with safety tools. Quite frankly.
That's true.
You are correct.
And people
that's
following safety tools.
That's just too easy.
But I do have kind of a hot take. I really appreciate safety tools because they do codify these things. But I also think if you're at a table and the other players at the table are like, please don't turn this magic item into a frog, and then you do it anyway, yes. Like, that's also like, safety tools are helpful for that, but also someone just saying, I really seriously actually don't want you to do this.
Yeah, like, sometimes the safety tool is communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that ultimately boils down to like all of these issues is the communication and like often like someone either not wanting to have it or someone who is just not willing to listen.
Or someone whose communication is drawing penises.
On a map. On the map.
Like, I understand that sometimes, like, when you're like goofing off, you'll be like, no, don't do this, but you like don't actually care that much. But like, I think if someone is like, no, actually don't do this, like, just don't turn it into a frog.
And again, this is what my character would do goes only so far, because you are a player playing with other human beings that hypothetically you're friends with or at least acquaintances with, and it's wild to be so disrespectful to them so often. I do like the idea of an in-world game of like all of the frogs is actually ready to attack out of revenge, and it's actually a cursed bag.
Yeah.
And like I feel like you could do something. Again, I think it boils down to communication first and foremost. But I also think it'd be funny if a absolute like army of frogs, like the person just like you're asleep in your tent and you hear slap and then and then what do you do? Oh, I get up and go and take a look. You see 1,000, 2,000 frogs filling
where
your
my
camp,
dice. We're playing right
standing outside of your tent. And these frogs, normally frogs don't show a lot of emotion, but these frogs look angry.
Yeah.
I also
and then they
think
stick you in the bag.
This is what my character would do thing is like always annoying, because it's like, why did you create a character who sucks then?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why is it fun? Like, I'm sorry, can you take your issues out with your therapist and not here? Because I'm tired.
Like, the one time I had it where it was like, this is what my character would do. It was really, I was on Taylor's stream and I like had a moment where like, before I said it, I'm like looking at everyone and I'm like, this is just legitimately what my character would do. Like, I can't just avoid conflict. And it was that my pirate had her sword was in her umbrella, and she like puts her umbrella up to like stop someone who it would be a bad idea to get in a fight with, but at the same time I'm like, I made such a big deal about her being protective of this space, like there's no way that she would just be like, yeah, okay, to avoid conflict. And like that's when it comes to like, what would my character do, and like my character would do this is when it's something that like it's not optimal for the game, but it is like just what your character would do. And that's very different than my character is an asshole who refuses to play along with anyone else and ruins the game for everyone else who's trying to play.
Yeah, there's a balance between don't ruin everything for everyone all the time, but also there's a balance between the people who want everyone to do everything the most optimal way in the D&D game, and that also doesn't work. And if you're like that, you need to be playing single player games.
Video games.
Even then, are you really having that much fun? Like I was actually talking to one of my coworkers is into D&D, and we were chatting about it. He's a lovely person. We were talking about fudging rolls, but then also like how both of us were kind of like min-maxing just isn't fun for us. And I think it's fine to min-max, but like I once played with a min-maxer who he min-maxed, and then we had all created our characters for role playing and like for like the story. So we weren't min-maxed. And
you were story min-maxed.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say that. I made the character I wanted to make. And then, but it was so boring because combat was just like, well, I guess I'll just, like, I was a druid. I wasn't like the most like combat, like heavy, like class, but I like combat. And it was like, there's no point in me doing this. And it just kind of like sucked out a lot of the fun. So I think you really just need a group that is all on the same page is ultimately what it comes down to. And this person is not in that.
Yeah. So we have the idea of the frogs fighting back. Ethan in chat said the bag is sentient and decides whether or not to frog things, which is a fun idea. What are some other ideas? Like, let's say that like the person turning the like that it's more of a playful like table thing, that it's not this person being an asshole. What are some things that you think could be done to like contribute to the chaos or have there be repercussions, or like what are some side effects of this frog bag?
I'm just going to repeat what I originally said, which is the X card.
Yeah.
I am enjoying this like speculative what could you do.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going back to being cursed. And the more you do, I think you have to roll a die, and it's like wild magic. And if you get like a 1, then your toe turns into your toe starts to look scaly and frog like. So the more things you turn into a frog, the more you
turn into a frog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I like that.
That's amazing. I was gonna say, I think all
fun.
the frogs should be able to escape, and one day you come across a frog city and they've created their own culture of frogs.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe they
and you're their god.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And when you go to try to leave again, they don't want you to, because you are their god and they want you to stay. And then you get into the Lilliput. I've never actually said it out loud. No, the like Jonathan Swift, like upside down.
Lilliputian? Is that what the country is called? Lilliputians? Lilliput?
I don't know.
I've only ever read it, so I'm like, I don't know how to say this at all.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of a thing where it's all these little frogs like throwing rock strings to
tying you down.
Stuck. Yeah, and then you need to deal with that. You could also do it where there's like a homing beacon for all the other frogs, so it just continues to grow, and like everyone is like on a pilgrimage essentially to get to this city. So it's all the frogs. I think there's fun things you could do to mess with the person. I'm having a great time thinking up things. Communication obviously is the best thing, but if you don't want to talk to people because, do stuff to them at the table.
Yeah. I think if like
manipulate them.
Yeah. I think if this is a thing where like it's a little bit inconvenient that they're turning things into frogs, but like nobody's actually upset about it, like it's fun to do something in the story that's like, oh, but here's a complication. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
let me see. Let's do this story next.
Idea of slowly turning them into a frog. I don't know how and I don't know when, but roll a Constitution save for me.
Yeah.
No explanation. Oh, you got a 9?
Yeah.
Something, you're walking a little bit different now, but you can't like fully, like it's not something that you understand, but like you can tell that like your body's just moving a little bit differently.
Your tongue feels really sticky.
Your mouth starts to feel like almost dry, but also wet. Like it's weird.
Somehow at the same time.
Really weird.
Yeah.
You hear a fly buzzing and you start to get a little peckish.
You start to want to date a pig.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
So this next story is just from r/RPG, which is a generic like RPG subreddit. And the title is "I'm a chaotic player" with a bunch of question marks. I've had my friends tell me I'm a chaotic player. I'm not sure what that means, and when I Googled it, I got a definition that seems pretty negative, so I don't think that's the right term. I asked a friend for an example, and they mentioned our last campaign where we encountered a horny ghost. The encounter was meant to be a misdirect for the mystery we were trying to solve, and I think the ghost propositioning us was meant to make the characters uncomfortable and be a fun RP moment for the GM. But my character had a history of entering into relationships she didn't want in order to please her parents, so she actually agreed to sleep with the ghost in exchange for a future favor, and that threw the GM for a loop. Also in that same campaign, we encountered a group of vigilantes. We were given an opportunity to purchase some equipment from them, and I asked if I could buy a grapple gun. We'd seen them using them to grapple between buildings. I guess grapple guns weren't supposed to be on the table, but the GM allowed it, and you can bet I used that in a number of escape situations that messed with the GM's plans. This weekend, I played a 3-day campaign that I also got a chaotic reputation for. My character didn't trust an NPC and went straight up to him, asked, "What are you hiding?" cast Detect Thoughts, and then got sucked into his mind for 18 hours. Oops. Later, I broke the campaign when I got access to a spell that would let me collect lore on a person or place. So I asked about the said NPC, and the GM had to phone a friend on how to handle it. My character ended up flat out dying because this deity-esque NPC didn't like me poking around. I got resurrected. I loved it, and the GM said he loved my playstyle, but apparently it's unusual. I'm just big on lore and playing to my character's backstory and motivation. I thought that's what role-playing was for. That same campaign, yes, Mila.
This isn't chaotic. Literally every single thing that she has said or the person has said, shouldn't assume gender, has been backed up by actual things that have happened in the campaign. If you don't want your characters to have a weapon, don't tell them that weapon exists. If you have a character who does often enter into relationships like for a material thing and like has that in their backstory, maybe don't put that as an option. If you don't want your character to go up to someone and just ask, like, that's also like, I get why you might not expect that, but like Detect Thoughts exists as a spell for a reason. If you don't want them to have this spell yes, but also if you don't want them to have this spell that gives them the lore on everyone who they're talking to, maybe don't have that spell. Like there's so many things where I'm like, this is not this person's fault. It's the DMs. If they're uncomfortable with having things, they shouldn't have like put that carrot in front of the players. Like the person is just taking the thing,
but it doesn't
that
also
was placed
feel
in front
like
of them.
It's the DM who has a problem with it.
No,
the
it's
GM
not.
said they loved it. Yeah, or
that's great.
I think
that person sounds excellent. That
I
person
just
sounds
think
like they're really
someone
invested.
is jealous that they are creative and good at D&D player.
Yeah. It's the same reason why Emily Axford had to leave the internet, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh God, the dream to be as good at D&D as Emily Axford.
Oh,
the
truly.
dream.
Yeah,
but then like there's the way she gets harassed, or like even on NADPOD, like the boys at one point had to be like, we all tease each other. We are all like this. We are all happy and content, and it's kind of fucked that we have to specify this. But like I do like, I think that might also be why I'm leaning like, I don't know if you actually specified about the gender, but like this feels like
I don't think they did, but I also
gives me woman vibes, because I feel like if this was a man, this wouldn't be as big of an issue as it is. And I'm projecting. I am absolutely projecting, but like this feels like something that a woman would be told.
Mila's
or
projecting their own misogyny onto the other.
Dude, Taylor's the incel.
Okay, they are a member of r/ADHD women. they're posting regularly in r/ADHD women. So
someone called it. Someone called
it. Pattern recognition is an autism thing. Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When the way that this person was writing made me think this person is a woman. But then again, once again, also women are non-binary trans individual. One of those two.
I think just basically not being like a man, because this just feels like when people are in that like more masculine field, like it does feel very much of like women being creative and doing like out of the box thinking often gets more. And like I am like, there's no evidence that is actually what is happening here currently, but at the same time, like this is something that I've seen, and it just like has me on the defense of being like, oh, like, this happens so often. And like Ethan makes a good point. Like maybe it was meant as a compliment at the table. They saw a lot of negative stuff, and like honestly, this is probably a thing where again it comes down to communication, because everything comes down to communication. We're communicative creatures, but like just checking in and being like, is like you said this to me and I looked it up and it was a lot of bad things. Like, is that what you meant? And maybe also being like, well, for me, it's like, you know, this, and like kind of getting to the root of it, but also like, I don't know. if I was to tell someone, like, there are times where I'll say I will say something that is often negative, and I mean it as a compliment because I really like appreciate this, but other people are like shitty. But I will be
Yeah.
like, you are you are such a chaotic player, and I love it. Or like, you're
Yeah.
so like such a chaotic like player, and that you always do things that I never like really expect. Like, if you just were just to tell someone that you are a very chaotic player, I don't think you mean it as a compliment because you're not giving any other context, and like it is so often seen as a negative thing. And I think Layla's probably right in that it is probably like very much coming from like a bit of a potentially a jealous place of like this person getting these really cool big things because they're swinging big, and so they're like getting a home run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit of my own story a little bit where I wasn't called a chaotic player. But essentially my first D&D game I ever joined. I joined and what I planned to do was play a very serious character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined the game and nobody was having fun. Nobody, literally nobody was having any fun. And so I just kind of turned my character into a little bit of a joke, in the hopes of like encouraging people to, and this was a game that was going on before I joined.
Mhm.
Like it was crazy to me. And so I was like, okay, this game obviously needs a little bit more energy to it. And so I'm just going to bring some energy to it. So I start being like a little bit of a silly guy. People start having fun. I get told by like one of the players who was there before me that was like, yeah, you joined and the game became really different, like in a good way. And that's kind of how I know that what I did worked, in the sense that people were finally able to relax and have fun, because the DM took himself and his stories way too seriously. They weren't even that good. I'm happy to say that because he's a terrible person and I hate him. I'm happy to talk shit about him on stream. Hey Harrison, if you ever see this, fuck you.
Oh no.
But essentially, like, but the problem that I had is that he was jealous of the fact that me being there made people have fun. And so he started being really shitty to my character, in the sense that every time I interacted with an NPC, they were immediately annoyed with me. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, this isn't the NPCs, this is you.
Yeah.
And so like, but I did not let that stop me. I still had a good time.
Red flag.
Red flag for Harrison.
Oh, y'all have no fucking idea. So yeah, and he would get really annoyed with me. And then one time I played a campaign with him and his partner, who is also my best friend, and we did a lot of role play. Like, we really enjoyed role playing as our characters. And he kept telling them that I like didn't enjoy what they were doing and stuff like that. Like, he was telling them that I wasn't having fun. And then they talked to me about it because we're best friends. And I was like, I'm having a great time. And then he just stopped DMing that game completely because he wasn't the center of attention.
Yeah.
It was wild and he sucked. But I guess what I'm here to say is that DM is a service position, right? Like, yes, you should also be having fun. But if you don't have fun, I mean, this is a TTRPG rule in general. If you don't have fun when things aren't going exactly the way that you planned them, anything improv related probably isn't for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times people need to be writing their own books. Like, that's what they need to be doing.
I'm sorry that you're a bad writer, but you can get better at it by writing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, which this GM said they were fine with. Someone else at this player's table said you're chaotic. Unclear whether they meant it negatively. I'm gonna read. There's like 2 more paragraphs on this that I'm gonna read. One, because the next thing that this person does feels very Emily Axford, which is that same campaign we were in a fight with an assassin, and I suppose we were just expected to attack, but I rolled really high on initiative and got to go first. So I cast invisibility on the assassin's target, and that flustered the GM a bit because he didn't know what the heck the assassin was going to do on their turn. My friend who GMs said he can never predict what I'm going to do each session. Everyone clarified they love the way I play and not to change it, but I'm wondering if I should warn future GMs if I'm playing in an unexpected style. So I think this person's just really good at playing games.
That the character is good, that your player is good at the game. There's something else going on there.
Yeah.
Hey, just so you know, I'm really good at this game, so just a heads up.
Yeah, that would be weirder than just being good at it. No, I don't think they need to apologize. They don't need to warn. They don't need to do anything. They're just good at D&D.
That was smart, casting invisibility on the target.
That's so smart.
Isn't that's really smart?
Also goes, speaking of Emily Axford and her alter or her other half, Brian Murphy.
Brian, just call him Brian, even though
Brian,
I
said that and then I was like, ooh, no, Murph. Murph is also like,
Brian is such a terrible name.
Shots fired, Brian.
Whenever people call Murph Brian, it's weird.
For a really long time,
I
kept accidentally calling him Ryan because I hate the name Brian so much.
That's so funny. The other person who it throws me off whenever they call him Brian is Brian David Gilbert. Because for me, it's like his whole name is his name.
So you forget.
Whenever people
Brian.
are like, oh, and then Brian, and it's like, who? No, it's Brian David Gilbert. This is mostly an actually thing, but Murph. One thing that's really funny is that, like, especially when they were doing Turtle Tank, where people would like suggest different like solutions to things or like homebrew, and they would kind of like put their eggs in or like invest in it with their eggs or not. One of the things is a lot of the time they were coming across things where people really wanted rolling well on initiative to be more like on initiative, like they wanted to give like more to it. And Murph's thing is just like, you are winning by going first. Like having a high initiative is good. A good thing.
It's really good.
Not only do they have the play style of Emily Axford, they also profited off of the thing that Murph is always arguing for. I love that so much. They're so creative. Like if I was running a game and like even if it threw me off, like I think it's also okay to be like, oh, I wasn't like, I do not expect any individual to have like this giant web of how any interaction could possibly go. Like that's a crazy, even for someone who's like really experienced, like there are times again with Emily Axford where like Murph has to like, you don't hear it because it's a podcast, but like Murph has to take a break and reassess where it's going. I know like relatively recently in an episode they had to like do that, and he spent like half an hour like working on an alternate thing. You can also say that is incredible. I'm not sure what to do. And like, it's this time, like we are going to like next game start right here and go from there. Like you are allowed to admit when you don't know something.
I'm sorry. We were talking about Emily Axford. And I just want to say, I've never seen anybody. And this is also like someone who presents as femme versus someone who presents as mask thing. I've never seen anybody go, Allie Beardsley really needs to stop being like this kind of player or anything. Allie Beardsley friendly mulligans.
I do see that.
I do see that too.
I see a lot. People
everyone sucks. Leave me alone.
People suck. People suck so much. But yeah, no, people get really pissy about Beardsley. I don't think it's as common. But people, especially after this last season with Fantasy High, junior year, how do these work? Is that what it is? Thank you.
Yes.
People were so upset where like because they were like, oh, I want it to be like more like consequence and less like chaotic, but also if they were just like suddenly this incredibly consequences. There were so many consequences. There was also that like they like people were like, oh, like they like fucked up, and it's like, well, yeah, that's how you grow actually. And like there's a lot of different things that people took, but people are incredibly critical of Beardsley as well as Emily Axford, so it is just a non-man thing, I think, unfortunately for a lot of people.
Non-cisgender man.
But thank you for specifying the cis part, because that is what I did mean that, but I didn't explicitly say it, so thank you. Damn cis men.
There is also like an intersectionality between like trans men who pass really well and are really conventionally attractive.
Also, people who are different races. I was gonna say, people of color also get it.
What we're here trying to say today at Over the Table is that leave your bigotry at the door with D&D.
Yes.
And at least and be bigoted towards the big bad. Be bigoted towards the big bad. Well, don't be bigoted, but
I was gonna say, don't be bigoted.
Hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't believe that you can actually, like, because of how bioessentialism is so baked into the system of D&D, I actually don't think you can just by playing the game.
When you play D&D, understand that you're going to be racist, but you should try to be as little racist as possible.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this person has done nothing wrong. They are perfect. Perfect little character.
A perfect woman with ADHD.
Perfect woman with ADHD.
Don't clip what I just said and take it out of context.
No, please clip it and take it out of context. You know what? I can do this myself.
No, Mila, no! Mila, don't do
it's okay. I have to ignore all of Mila's markers because they also made a bunch of markers of me being an incel. So
great news. That stream is still up, and I can go back
here,
and do
it's me. Thank you.
That's what I said. I was not an incel.
Yeah, you said that, but that's what incels say.
Here's what I will say about this post. I don't think this is chaotic at all. My beef with D&D players specifically is anything fun just gets labeled chaotic, and chaotic has a meaning, which is doing things for kind of no reason, like doing these things that like there's no reason why your character is really doing it. It's just funny. It's like LOL random. None of what this person is doing is chaotic. It's unpredictable, but unpredictable is different from chaotic. They know things that are going on in their head and in their character's head that is making this not chaotic. It is making it predictable to them. That's my I've been, if you can't tell, I've been described as a chaotic player before, and I very firmly do not view myself as chaotic as a player, because I am never just doing things. I'm never just doing things like, oh, this would be so random if I just like do this thing. I like to say that I take big swings. I think as a player I do take big swings. I shake things up, but it's never just like, this is random. So
as someone who is actually kind of a chaotic player, Taylor is not chaotic.
Yeah.
No.
And unpredictable.
Just because they're funny. That's
unpredictable, but having a reason is not fundamentally not chaotic.
Not chaotic, yeah. So that's my
unexpected.
That's my soapbox.
You're correct. You have an accurate soapbox. I feel bad for this person actually for like having to go through so much of like that, like thinking about it, because like no, they're doing a great job. It sounds like they're having a good time. They're very funny. And they do big swings, and again, they hit some home runs because they take big swings. And
their table likes it, their GM likes it.
Yes.
And I like them, but I do hope they gain some self-esteem, because it does feel like someone made one comment and then they went to a Reddit full of strangers and made a paragraph long explanation.
Like more
choices they made. And it's like, hey, you don't need to do that. You really don't.
Like 10 paragraphs of explanation of the things that they've done.
Yeah, 10 paragraphs to a Reddit full of strangers. And this is not me trying to hog on you about that. I understand why you did it, but just know you don't have to. You really don't ever, even if you are a chaotic player, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Unapologetically.
And like, I do again ultimately think it does come down to like gender norms and like gender expectations, and like the way that like, you know, women are communicated to versus like other things. Like I know that it's not specifically brought up in here, but I really struggle to like not see these connections when again it is like such a common pattern that happens so often, and the only people who really lose out and like dim their sparkle are women who are told like they're too much. And like I feel like this person has been told they're too much before, and now they're like worried about it. And
Yeah.
I just like, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
As someone who has been told they're too much a lot, I want them to know that they're right. I am too much, and I'm going to continue being too much.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to fucking deal with it because I'm pretty enough to get away with it. So,
Well, and also, if you don't like the way that someone is, just don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
Like, hang out with people you vibe with. Like, that is okay. Like, not
and they
everyone's
don't hang out with
personality
me,
mesh.
and that's great. I have no
Stop
friends.
bitching. And why are they complaining about you? Like,
because some people
Grow
have
up.
fun complaining. Oh,
They're obsessed with
out
you.
of focus.
Yeah, stay in
Yeah.
focus.
I can't tell you how many times in my life I've been obsessed over, and it's crazy. It's so wild to me. It's so wild how many times I have been the main topic of conversation within a small community of people.
And Layla, on that note, if people are obsessed with you right now, where else can they find you? What else do you have going on? What are your plugs? Because we're wrapping up the stream.
So, you can find me on Twitter, which I have a feeling Taylor probably put my Twitter somewhere. But it's also
your links, yeah.
ZRA. But find that link, click on it. Also, when you find that link, I'm on private right now, but you can request me. I'll probably say yes. That's just so future potential employers can't see how gay I am. I live in Tennessee. Also, tell me I'm pretty. Actually, that's kind of the gateway into becoming one of my followers. You have to request to follow me, and then you have to request to DM me telling me I'm pretty. And then once all of those things have been accomplished, then I will allow you to follow me. And then once you do that, I run games for people. And so then you could even talk to me, which is incredible. Like, that's great news too. You do have to pay me to do that. But that's
Ethan's saying it in chat right now, so Ethan just said, "Layla, you're pretty," all in caps in chat.
Thank you, Ethan.
He's submitting his application.
I think Ethan already follows me. It's fine. So thank you that's a little bit of a late payment, but fair. Yeah, so then you could pay me not only to be pretty, like I'll wear red lipsticks to the game too, if like that's what you need. But
oh wow,
you can pay me not only to be pretty,
ways.
but also to be funny directly at you, and not just on a live stream. So I think that's actually a great deal.
Yeah. Layla encouraging parasocialism.
Be parasocial with me if it means you'll give me money.
The move.
I'll let you pay
That
to
is
be parasocial.
pretty much why parasocial relationships have come about, actually.
Yeah.
It's for finance.
Mila. Yeah, Mila, where can people find you? What else do you have going on other than your links in chat?
You can find me in Canada. But if you're looking for my internet presence, you can find me on Twitter, on Blue Sky, which I was using and then have kind of trickled off of using. There's a lot of things out there.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on other websites that I can't think of the name of at the moment. You can find me here on Twitch. I'm trying to stream a little bit more. I need to come up with a schedule because I will stick to that. I don't realize how much time is passing, but I'm right now trying to finish Hollow Knight. And yeah, I'm there and having fun with it. Twitter is probably the best place that you can interact with me. You can also find me in Taylor's Discord, actually.
And you can find me in Taylor's DMs.
Yes.
Wow.
That is true. That is true. You should have heard Layla before stream. And that was outside of the DMs.
Yeah, that was to my face. Yeah. Yes, Mila, speaking of the Discord, which you just linked to, which I finally did an actual command so that works. If you're not already in my Discord and you want to play games and do different stuff like that off of stream, Layla and Mila are helping me do a lot more Discord events. So actually this week, I haven't even posted about it in the Discord, but We are going to be playing actually, I think, yeah, on Wednesday in the Discord. So if you want to come and hang out and do that, you can do that. We've got other stuff going on, which is great. And then also, I think some of the stories here that I previewed, we didn't actually end up reading. So if you want to hear those stories, tune in for future Over the Tables. I'm sure I'll read them on those. The next one is going to be, I think, October 5th. So, like, it's basically 2 weeks. We're doing another one. So look forward to that. And also, I'll be announcing some other streams that I'm doing because I'm finally getting back in the swing of scheduling one-shots. You can also follow me on YouTube. A bunch of my old stuff is on there. And I've been posting a lot of short-form content on TikTok and YouTube Shorts as well. So if you want to see short stuff... Yes, and you can check out the aforementioned Vampire Orgy story. I think it's the first story in the first episode of Over the Table, so you could go to that playlist on YouTube
really
to see it because it's
swinging.
worth it.
All right.
I was like, I gotta get people hooked.
It fit with the guest too.
It did fit with the guest. That's why I did it.
Also, say you should join Taylor's Discord if you haven't. You really should because I'm trying to plan events and we need people to do events. And they're fun. And I wrote so many make some noise prompts.
Yeah.
I wrote so many of them. I wrote 22.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to use them. And so if you'd like to have fun.
Join
and also
the Discord.
Make me laugh. Come over to the Discord. We're gonna have another mouth sounds next month. It's gonna be great.
Woo!
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I think that's everything. So, do you two want to say goodbye to? Oh, we just got a raid. Hello, Raiders.
Hello.
I am so sorry. Hello, Tales of Myth and Mayhem. I am about to end stream, so let me.
Yeah, give us all money. Give us all money. Give Taylor money.
That's such a strong.
Give Taylor money.
They might still be watching an ad.
Oh my
Taylor
god.
money. Give Taylor money. Give Taylor money.
An attempt is
Taylor
made.
is Taylor's
start
biggest simp.
Christianity. Give Taylor money. And if we kill Jesus, we start Christianity. Give Taylor money.
For people who don't know what's happening.
Watch the rest of the VOD so you understand why I said that. It's really funny. Give
It's
Taylor
such a
money.
wild thing for someone to not know.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
let me thank you
Okay.
so much for the raid,
Disclaimer,
Livina. I
Taylor is
appreciate
not
it.
Backing this statement.
Let me see if there's somebody that we can raid. I don't think there's anybody for me to raid. So thank you so much, raiders. Thank you so much. Sorry that this is I'm about to end stream. But yes, you get to enjoy my my ending screen. Yes, we promised until you did come into chaos, so
Yes.
you can you can watch the VOD or see this on YouTube eventually. But thanks everybody. We're gonna wrap up. Mila and Layla, do you want to say goodbye to chat and goodbye to the YouTube VOD?
Goodbye, chat.
this.
Goodbye, YouTube VOD.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.